Sway Design and Research. So we're gonna get started and talk to Eugene Sway, and I can share more backstory about how I know Eugene. And Eugene, feel free to unmute and share your camera. And I'm gonna get started first by sharing with the interns and externs here what's going on. So you all may now know at this point that you are in this next program here called Employer Spotlight, Sway Design and Research. And then you clicked on this button here and it took you to this page here, which then allowed you to click on go to Zoom. And then now we're here live. That's how the magic works. And we're gonna be able to get into more of the opportunity going forward. And I'm excited to talk with Eugene Sway here. And I can tell you more backstory about how I know him. But Eugene, why don't you kick it off and share how you're doing and what you've been up to today? You are muted still, so feel free to unmute yourself and share your answer.
Okay, sorry. Now you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just finished a seminar with the American Institute of Architects about net zero energy design. And I thought it was appalling. And I said so. I told the head guy, I said that net zero energy design is not a solution to climate change, global warming, because all they're doing is creating more technologies that are going to be landfill in 20 years for the Earth. And that kind of is the attitude I'm taking about technology and architecture, is that we've got to create a new language of design, not just in architecture, but in every kind of design, everything we create, that is going to address the climate change, global warming that we're all facing, and also the issue of garbage. You know, what do we do with these materials, and how do we use materials that could possibly dissolve over time themselves? So anyway, I'm about creating a language of design and technologies, what I call restorative technologies, that are real answers to the growing dilemma that we all face about the collapse of the living environment around us, and how the environments we build are really very much a part of that mentality, that attitude is, you know, how do we save ourselves for the future? And that's what I do. So I took that seminar, and now I'm preparing for an hour-long taped session with the New York Museum of Modern Art about this very subject, about how we have to create a new language of design. And so the Museum of Modern Art is very interested in my doing that. You know, what do you have to do that? And so so I'm going to be discussing with a curator at the New York Museum of Modern Art about this very topic. And the issue, the main question is, we can't come up with the solutions to climate change with the same mentality that we had that created the problem. So how do you create a whole new way of thinking that really addresses the issue? And I think the way is what I call interdisciplinary thinking. That is, you've got to think along many different dimensions, and you have to be the kind of person that's really knowledgeable and experienced about many different things, about music, about athletics, about design, about nature, about sciences, and psychology, and so we have to change our personalities to become a much more multidimensional human being. And I really think that that's the only way we're going to become the kind of person that is going to to create this language that really addresses our future, which is, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's, you know, the Earth is dying. It's dying out, and the sea level rise has already covered several coastlines. The fires are everywhere in California. The temperature is rising everywhere in the world. You know, all these things. What do we do? And I'm sure you, as a younger generation of people, are really kind of scared at looking at the future. Like, well, what you know, what's my future going to be like if we're all facing this? And so I'm wanting to be that voice that says we got to find the answers. And as an architect, which is really relevant to it, you know, how the built environment, 45% of the built environment is causing climate change. I mean, yeah, that 45% of climate change is caused by the built environment. So, so I feel very urgent that we have to find answers. For instance, I'm waiting on the planning approval for the world's first ever, I think, the first ever modern true zero energy building. It's built underground in Mount Shasta, California. And I'm also designing some other buildings that are along the same lines, that they don't use electrical, mechanical, heating, ventilation, cooling systems, no air conditioning, high insulation, they're partially underground, you know, those kinds of things. So that's what I'm involved in. And that's, I also play music. I also compose piano music. I am a competitive athlete. I'm the four-time senior Olympic all-around champion in gymnastics. I'm 8-time world champion in amateur boxing. And I'm moving on to wrestling, Olympic wrestling. So I'm always searching for new answers and challenges for my life. So that's kind of me and what I'm doing right now.
Great, thank you, Eugene. And there's a lot more to share more there. And I will actually caveat by saying that my first 3 to 4 employers are employers in our program. And my first employer spoke yesterday, Pell Learning Centers. Our second employer is in our program too, when I worked for Mainland Skate and Surf Shop. And when I was in college, I believe my fourth employer was Eugene. So a lot more stories to share, but let me get some brass tacks to get you all contextualized. So Eugene, first question, what does your organization do? What does Tsui Design and Research do? And you can even share what TELUS Foundation does too.
Okay,
what do those two organizations do?
Yeah. Well, Tsui Design and Research, mainly architects, doing research, building models, trying to create the future. Designing buildings. I'd like to write a book. We're about, you know, professionals trying to make a difference in architecture, and the TELUS Foundation is an arm of that. It's a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to educating the public about the need for change. And so those two organizations are really what I'm a part of, and they have to do with both practice and education, and that's mainly what I'm about. And I like hands-on things. For internships, for teaching, you know, I'd like to have you as students really create scale models, you know, really use your hands to create things and research new technologies and restorative materials and things like that, where we can actually create things and disseminate and educate the public about what we create. For instance, last summer we did one of the interns became a interviewer, and we did a series of 9 videos about what young people are thinking. I mean, what you're thinking about in high school, and my answering those questions about, what do you see that we're facing, and how do we become, voices for the environment, or I'm not interested in architecture, but what do I do if I'm a musician? What can I do? There's all kinds of questions and things that came up from that interview series. So depending on what your interest, your field of interest is, we can create lots of really cool things. So that's what happened last time. And this time, I'd really like to have people here, because last time we were still worried about COVID, and I was in China and in New York for the show. But this time I'm here, and so I'd like all of us to work together in one area to create things, and I think that'd be a great experience for everyone. For
And
me
matter of
too.
fact, if people are in the Bay Area right now and you're willing to drive or get to Emeryville, California, just above Oakland, go and post into the chat that you're down to actually be somewhere in person more and actually work with an architect and
Yeah.
actually learn from architect and learn how to do design, interdisciplinary thinking. If you have an interest in this, post into the chat that you'd be down to do this, because that's what we're trying to assemble for Eugene, our in-person interns building real things, scaled models of architecture, and actually learning what purpose means in your life, what changing the world means, and how to enable you to actually grow and build your futures. I'll tell you right now that Eugene has made my life pivot in a meaningful way towards this concept of purpose. And when I met him, it really helped change my direction of how I saw the opportunity of life from my own lens. So post that into the chat. Moving on to the next question, Eugene,
Mm-hmm.
to further contextualize the folks here.
Yeah.
What are your quote unquote products? What are your quote unquote services? What are your quote unquote things that you make for people? And who are the people that you make these things for? Who are your customers? Who are your clients?
Huh. Well, some clients are actual families and people that want to make buildings. That's one aspect. Another are lecture people that want to hear about the things we talked about the climate change and about human behavioral change. And some people even want to know, well, how do you become a multi-dimensional person? How do you find time to do this stuff? So there are those people, and then there's people who are really research oriented. Like, they want to find out what's out there that would be interesting to know about. So that's another aspect of what we do, and so I say those are the main areas uh, that uh, we move in as a group. And it changes according to person by person. For instance, one of the current interns, Ian, he's in India right now, but he created a whole website for the nonprofit organization, and so he's using his skills for publicity, advertising, and informational sharing, to create this website. And that's something that we've been doing together as well. So there's, depending on where your interests lie, we can do so many different things. Does that answer your question?
I think for the most
Eric?
part, I think what you all should know about Eugene is that he's creating, he's been seen as someone who's creating a more novel approach to architecture that's not widely adopted. He's not making regular buildings here. And matter of fact, he's not even making buildings as much as he's creating behavioral change, right? Around how people think about the design and the creation of the world. And so I'm sure that his background, emerging ecologies, architecture, he was featured in New York at a museum. You
Yeah,
know, the
New York Museum of
modern,
Modern Art.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, you see it behind me there. That's the doorway to the gallery. It's called Emerging Ecologies, Architecture, and the Rise of Environmentalism. It's the first, it's the first public show in history to acknowledge the pioneers of ecological architecture. And I'm one of those. And they covered from 1900 till now, you know, who are the voices that and the visionaries who saw the coming problems of environmental damage that our built environments create. And so this exhibition was created to acknowledge those people. And I was shocked to find out that I am actually the youngest guy in it. The other people that are still alive are 70 and 80 years old. And so it really kind of put into perspective that this dialogue has really been going on for a while, but is never really caught on at all. And so the Museum of Modern Art has really tried to create um, an acknowledgement that there has been voices for climate change even before climate change was a word, and that and these people are still going. So that's what that exhibition was about. And now they're doing things like what we're about to do tomorrow, which is to go on televised programs to talk about how do you how do you make the change? How do you create solutions to climate change that really that are real and could work? And so we're talking about that. So this is an ongoing dialogue. And
So
Derek,
we're
I want to
mhm.
tell your interns too that um, that you are unique too in that when you were working with me, you were in the architecture program, we were graduating from the program, and now you went into education. And I'd like to think that probably some because of me, some because of my wife, who is an educator in China, which you also went to work with, that you are in the education field now, and are creating new generations of educated people because of your realization that architecture is not the venue that is most apt for your personality and your values. And I think that's really wonderful. And I'm so honored to be a part of that, of your epiphany to move into education rather than architecture.
Yeah, I think what you all realize as you get exposed to people, just like Eugene or conversations and whatnot, is that you'll realize that there's branches of your life, and you never know when a branch will go this way or this way. But when you start to process information for yourself and what motivates you, what engages you, you'll find that you'll get excited about a particular path, and you should definitely make a clear decision and digest and process it and do critical thinking to kind of understand whether it's a good decision. And as you go forward, you'll discover that I learned how to give high school kids real world experiences because I worked for Eugene's wife, who needed me to go to Sacramento randomly, like 15 years ago, to get employers for 14 kids coming from Shenzhen, China. And because the people flaked on her. And that's how I learned how to give you all opportunities, was because of Eugene's wife. Because Eugene called me saying, my wife needs help. Can you help her? And I went to Sacramento. As a matter of fact, I'm in Sacramento right now, still
Mm. Well,
doing the
you
same thing.
also, yeah, and you also went all the way to Shenzhen, China, to
Yeah,
help with the
and I've
program.
done, and I've worked for his wife. So, but just want to point that out. But Eugene, if you were to sum it up in a few words, what are your products? What are your services? What do you sell?
I sell the future. I sell buildings and designs and books and videos and everything to do with how we can change to be an answer to the challenges we face in the future. And so I do it every way I can, whether it's a book or a publication and a website, a building, a lecture, whatever it may be. Movies. By the way, there's a Shanghai, a Berkeley-born, Shanghai-raised movie director that's now in Shanghai editing a movie that we just filmed about me and about climate change and all of these things that we shot the first part of this whole year, up till early June. And so that's another venue, movies. That it's a way of expressing the things that we need to do to preserve our future. And also for you to find what it is that you really want to do with your life. That's so important, that you all owe it to yourselves to find out what really is going to give you meaning and purpose in your life, that is going to propel you and make it so that you're content with your life from now till the day you die. What is that going to be? And to me, that's the most important thing. By the way, there's something wrong with the light here. I'm not sure why, but I look very kind of
like an alien,
ghostly and gray. I don't understand that.
People call Eugene an alien. And his initial
sure
seems to be ET as well. But
yeah.
Next question, just move things along because we do have an agenda here.
Okay.
What are your top 3 priorities so that these students get to know what you want them to focus on if they were to work for you? So what are your top 3 priorities right now?
Okay, top 3 priorities. One is to create buildings, create designs that address and change the way we think about the world. That's one. 2 is, in relation to students, is to make it so that you can discover what it is that really is going to give you a sense of meaning, contentment, and purpose in your life. And then the 3rd is, how can we work together to make both your life and my life more valuable? What can we do so that you can be the optimal person and learn skills that you can carry for the rest of your life, and how I can how I can develop my own ideas further with your help. So those are the 3 areas.
Great. I'll put that into the chat. And for anyone who has a question for Eugene in regards to specifics, because that may come off as unspecific for you all. Yet at the same time, those items are also fundamental, and Eugene truly believes that fundamentalism, right? Your fundamental interest is what will drive what you can do. Yes, it might be architecture. Yes, it might be design. And yes, all those applications of use cases could go on top of that. But if you have something more specific you want to ask Eugene in regards to that, please do. And so given those priorities, and I'm hearing creating buildings and designs that address change in the world, right? That's number 1. Number 2, finding out what they can discover about themselves that gives them content, meaning, and purpose in their own life as number 2 priority for you. And then number 3 is how you can work together to get skills for you all as students to carry forward for the rest of your life, and then also support Tsui Design and Research and tell us. So within all those, what are students going to do? What do you imagine students doing?
Well, one thing I really need right now is to create models, to create real scale models that you can build. So that's one thing. The other is publications. writing a book. And so for those people that are interested in published publications and how it works, that would be another goal. And the third is the is the
Marketing content, filmmaking.
Yeah, marketing. Yeah, marketing, which includes videos and interviews, that sort of thing. Yeah. So those are the three areas that I need the most right now.
And just to give more clarity, what kind of scaled models, what kind of publication projects, what kind of marketing and film interviews? Can you get more specific there?
Well, the marketing would be to potential clients who either want lectures or buildings. So there's two very different markets. So how to reach out to those people, and the other would be model making, and creating realistic versions of buildings that we're designing now. So it would be a kind of how to create works of art with real materials. That's another aspect. And then how to research new materials that are out in the world that we can use to create these real buildings.
All right, that's really helpful.
Those areas.
And before I go further, because I was going to ask this actually earlier to give more definition around what do you sell and who are your customers, right?
Yeah, I really don't. That kind of
you don't like.
I don't really think of myself as selling things.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I guess I do. But it's really about
you could sell a vision. Right?
Yeah,
you can sell an idea.
I guess you would say that, yes, it could be that way.
Right, it could be seen that way, but it just kind of gets down to brass tacks, right? But the question I have for you is, this gives an example, right, of what I feel like could be an interesting market for you, right? Is and I don't know the details of it, so feel free to not share as much as you like, but I believe you got contacted by Kanye West's agent, right, to see if
they'd
be interested in building something with them.
That's right.
Tell us about that potential client and how that story played out.
Kanye West's agent called me a couple of times and said that Kanye West is interested in creating an ecological community. He didn't know the details, but he said that Kanye West would reach out and contact me to meet me to talk about what, where, and what's involved in that community. That was earlier this year. So so far I've not been contacted by Kanye West himself, so I don't know. The other thing is another project is the Beat Museum in San Francisco. I've been working on that project for about a year now. And we're looking for the right site to create the museum. I don't probably none of you know who the Beat generation were. They were the generation that started after World War II of creative writers and poets, mainly starting from Columbia University in New York, and then transferring to the San Francisco North Beach area. And they are the catalysts for women's lib, for the freedom of speech movement, for the even for the civil rights movement, for the Earth First movement, and for several other large movements that come since the 50s. And I didn't even know about them. I never heard of the Beat generation until I met the director of the current museum in San Francisco. And he said, let me tell you our history. And when I learned about these people, I thought, why don't I know about them? They're dedicated to compassion, to creativity, and to individuality, and they're poetic voices for that. And so I became a what do you call it? An enthusiast for this movement and designed a whole museum for them. And we finally got the design the way we really want it. So so depending on where the site is, we'd adapt the original design to that site. So that's another project that we're working on. Uh, and
Cool.
and you know, and everyone would eventually know more about that as they come over.
Sounds good. So
Yeah,
moving on to some more brass tacks questions, just a couple more. And for those who want
sure.
to engage with Eugene, go and post into the chat your question or topics you might want to chat with him about so that I know that you want to engage with them. Otherwise, we'll close out. So please put those questions in so we know that you want to engage. And I would highly encourage everyone engage and share questions, share curiosity, post in the chat, and let's get an engagement going. So next question, Eugene, is what qualities are you looking for in an intern?
Self-driven, um, disciplined, creative, asking every kind of question. So inquisitive, really daring to be different, and the kind of personality that takes a stand for what's right. So there's this moral integrity. You know, I look for those things. And just, you know, wanting to communicate. Just to, you know, tell me how you feel, and no question is a stupid question. And just really having fun creating things that have never been created before. You know, originality is a part of everything here. So so this is the kind of environment that you'd be walking into, is you know, exploring the unknown and taking risks. And if any of you are musicians, I have a piano in the studio, and if you're a guitarist or if you have portable instruments, why not bring them? We used to have a lunch hour where we'd share poetry and music. So you know, it's a very, very diverse kind of environment.
Right. Thank you, Eugene. And again, if you have any of those qualities, self-driven, disciplined, creative, asking, inquisitive, daring to be different, takes a stand on
Yeah.
what's right, originality, exploring the unknown. If you have any of those qualities, post them to the chat. Say, I have some of those, and I have some questions for you too. So basically the last question, but I have a question right after that, and then we'll open it up for questions. And the format for questions, just to let everyone know, is you can post a question into the chat. That'll line you up in the queue, and then we'll have an opportunity for you to actually ask that question, Eugene, and have a conversation with them. Next question, Eugene, is: are you open to compensating for the work that students do? That's basically the question.
Well, I think it all depends on their skill level. You know, if someone has had a lot of experience in building a model, there could be compensation. You have to know that I come from a background of voluntary internship. You know, I've interned with two world famous architects who are now deceased, and I was not compensated, but I didn't care because I was there to learn from them, and I knew that these people were world renowned and that I would never encounter this kind of architect ever again. So I didn't care about getting compensated, and I kind of still have that kind of mentality. You know, I do things for other people free of charge. I give lectures free of charge, and you know, it takes me a week to prepare for some of these lectures, and I don't mind that, because the main thing is getting the thoughts out there, making a difference. And so I kind of still retain that for myself. So I'm kind of thought of as as kind of strange for just, you know, voluntary internships. But you know, I wouldn't I would not be against compensating someone if they really had a lot of skill in a certain area. And sometimes that happens later on in an internship too, where I realize that, you know, this person is really valuable and that they could be compensated for something that they've already had so much experience in. So I'm open to it. But my preference is a voluntary one, because I think starting out as a volunteer, it takes time to really get to know someone, at least a few months. So my preference is to start that way.
Great. Thank you, Eugene. And
Yeah.
last question before we move on to questions from the audience here. Do you have any last prompt or last piece of advice on how these potential interns can help you? Any other last prompt, any last advice on how they can help you and help the cause?
Well, we have to spend time to get to know each other. That's really important. So as I know your personality more, in a deeper way, and as you know my personality in a deeper way, there's going to be this kind of synergy that happens, and that can be a very unexpected thing that could create, I hope, create a lot of unexpected, incredible ideas, and we can find ways to make those ideas happen. So I kind of expect that to happen because it's always happened in the past. I've probably had in my professional life, I've had more than 500 interns from around the world. And so I've had a lot of experience working with interns and students and professionals from all over the world. And so that's given me a lot of experience with different kinds of personalities. And I can use that experience to as insights into how best to develop your own interests and how best to work together to create new ideas.
Great. Thank you, Eugene. So we're going to get into some questions now. If you want an opportunity to engage with Eugene and network and build, scratch your curiosities, now's the time to post into the chat. And we're going to go to Vrinda because Vrinda has a question earlier that said, do you use any social media for engagement? So Vrinda, I'm going to throw you onto the spotlight here and feel free to ask and clarify that question.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you mean by to engage social media. Do you mean create social media sites and social media photos and things that reach out to other people? Yes, definitely. We do that.
Yeah. By that question, I specifically meant like, do you have like Instagram, LinkedIn, or do you do anything like that?
Yes, we're actually developing. Yes, we're working to develop Instagram a lot more. Because I had a few interns just I just had their senior year in high school, and they said you got to be on Instagram, and so I said okay, and so we're now developing that. I mainly been I've enjoyed being on Facebook. Facebook has been a kind of a staple for me, but people are saying no, you got to move on to Instagram. So yeah, okay, I will. I'll do whatever people suggest. I'm open to it. And so we're creating texts now right this minute for the new Instagram site that we created.
That's so cool.
So I'm learning about it, and if you would like to help, I would love that.
Yeah, that was my main question. So thank you so much.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool. So we have another question from Divya. And again, ask questions. Don't be shy, because being shy gets you nowhere anyways. So Divya mentioned, what are some sustainable technologies you use to create buildings? So Divya, I'll let you get highlight here and just clarify that question. So Divya, go ahead and share more about that question.
Yeah. Well, I think
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Feel free to elaborate, Divya. I think you can always clarify, and it gives more context to Eugene.
Okay, I know you mentioned some like wind or solar power, or did you mention that? I just wanted to get a better idea of how you use sustainable energy for your buildings, especially
Well,
when they're underground.
I try to keep things very simple, and when I researched solar panels, I found out that solar panels are incredibly toxic to make. That it requires, for instance, 1 square yard of solar panel requires 4 square yards of hydrochloric acid, which is an extremely toxic material. And so just think where of all that hydrochloric acid that's being dumped on the earth by making these solar panels. And the other thing is that solar panels, they only have a life of about 20 years or less. And then they're just thrown away and they're thrown into dump piles. And there's hundreds of tons of solar panels rotting in the earth throughout the world. And so, I am not really a proponent of solar panels. I really think there needs to be a way of addressing architecture in our built environment that does not have to use alternative energy sources. We can create our own energy. For instance, in this new building I've designed in Mount Shasta, we get on stationary bicycles and we start pedaling to create energy, or we start rowing, or we move to create electricity. And that's stored in batteries. And unfortunately, batteries are still kind of toxic, but it's a lot better than hundreds of square miles of solar panels. So I'm trying to create a model of restorative technology that engages people, that we can be our own source of electricity. And so I'm finding ways to do that. And there's things called gravity lights. So you put a light on the ceiling, and that light starts to fall very slowly till it hits the floor. And for that 1 hour that it's falling, it creates 100 watts of electrical light. So why not use those kinds of self-made energy technologies that don't harm the environment at all, that have nothing to do with the environment, really? They're just energy sources in themselves, and find those technologies and utilize those. We need to question our assumptions about what we really need and what's really out there, because a lot of architects just assume that we have to have solar panels, we have to have some kind of external kind of energy, but we don't. We can create our own energy. We can get on bicycles, we can get on a treadmill and start running, and it would help our physical state of well-being. I don't know if you know, the latest statistic is that the #1 killer of Americans is obesity. And that's because we live such a sedentary lifestyle. Well, I don't want to live a sedentary lifestyle. So we could create technologies that invite people to run and move to combat a sedentary life and obesity and create energy. So why can't we move in that direction? And that's the direction that I'd want to move in, because it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Sure.
That was a really nice answer.
Thanks.
Thanks, Divya. So we have another question from Harshini, and Harshini has some questions around making it in person versus Zoom and digital and all that stuff. So Harshini, feel free to share more about your question there.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Harshini. I was just wondering, I just want some clarification. Where exactly is the in-person? I didn't really quite catch you the first time.
Yeah. I am in the most incredible spot you could imagine in the Bay Area. I am in Emery Cove in Emeryville. I'm surrounded by the San Francisco Bay waters on 3 sides. I have a breathtaking view of San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, the North Bay, the estuary of the Sea of Oakland. So this office would be incredible. You would love you'd want to live here. if you worked
It
here.
sounds like a really
I
good
want to
place.
live here. So it's a beautiful setting, and I think there's so much energy here that I think working together in this location would just be an astounding thing because it's just so invigorating.
That sounds
And
like such a like
I can send you photographs later on so you can see exactly where the location is.
that sounds like an amazing place, but unfortunately, I don't live in a place that nice. I live in San Jose,
Oh, okay.
which is nice on its own. But I was just wondering, like, I'm really passionate about like environment, and I'm thinking about like maybe pursuing environmental sciences. So I
Uh-huh.
was wondering, like, is there any online opportunities? Since unfortunately, I'm
Yeah, we
quite
could
far
arrange
from here.
something like that. Yeah, we could probably arrange that. Like if you want to do research or things that don't require you being physically here to build something,
Hmm.
we could arrange for that. I know the other last semester, one of the students created this video interview series,
Hmm.
and that was done online. And I happened to be in Shanghai at the time and in New York City, so it worked out perfectly. And so yeah, there's things we can adjust for, and sure, I'm sure we can work out something. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to, I just because I think like I really want to like pursue like this kind of career in environmental sciences. So I just wanted to
Mhm.
know if there's any other way I could still be involved in this.
Yes, I think so. You could also maybe help with lectures.
Hmm.
You know, finding venues for lectures. Last semester I went to UC Berkeley twice. They have a new program called they have a new department called um, the Jacobs Institute for Design Innovation, and it's
Hmm.
its own institute. They're trying to really create a new way of thinking about design. And so they knew me, and they asked me to lecture there. And many of the interns went there to learn about what they're doing. And in fact, two of them applied to UC Berkeley to be a part of that to part of that institute. So you never know. So it's sure. So I'm sure we can work out something.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure, you're welcome.
All right, we have one last question, unless anyone else has more questions. Amrit mentioned and asked if there's any opportunities in a specific area around specifically digital design. So,
Mhm.
Amrit, I'll have you clarify further because Eugene, we have debates about around technology all the time. So maybe you can clarify more about what your interests are.
Yeah, I'm Amrit. It's really nice to meet you. I heard a lot of things great about your company. I wanted to know specifically about UX designing. So, I'm a UX designer and I am looking to kind of, help out wherever I can. And
Uh-huh.
it's basically like app designing and website designing, and it's more of like the visual representation of the app or the website. It's
Mm.
not detailed, it's more like where each buttons are placed or where, like if you click a button, where does it take you? That's what UX
Yeah.
focused on.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, I think
so
yeah, I think that would you that taking a look at our recent website, I'm sure you would find all sorts of improvements that need to be done to it. So I think that would be very nice
yeah.
to for you to take that on.
No,
And you know what? The other thing is for all of you and for you as for the website, I would want you to put your name on it. That you are the person who created this.
yeah,
Oh, because I want to give credit to everybody who's been a part of what we do.
right.
And because I hated the fact that I did all this work in an architect's office and never got any credit for it. In fact, architecture is really very patriarchal that way. Nobody gets credit for doing the work. It's all about the principal architect. And and I really want to destroy that mentality. and give credit to everyone that does work with me, so that your name will forever be on the work we do. And so I would love for you to maybe take on a website or I don't know, some sort of marketing campaign even,
That would be,
whatever.
I
Yeah.
will definitely out and get more information from you on that as well.
Okay. Okay. And please, all you and everyone, reach out to me by email, and we can talk more in detail, and also just talk on the telephone as well.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
also not too far from Emerald, so I would love to come in person whenever.
Oh, great, great, excellent. Okay, well, very cool. Thank you for saying so.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And I also do want to share that I asked earlier if there's any students who would be interested in coming in person. You did have some interest from Amrit, who just spoke to you, Divya, who
Yeah.
also spoke to you, as well as
Uh-huh.
Ahan. So you do have some interest on the in-person elements. So that's all we have for our program. Students have asked all their questions. We're going to close out now. So
Can I
Eugene, any
add one
last?
more? Can
Yes,
I add
please.
one more thing?
Yep.
Okay. You're all students at the senior high school level, or beyond?
High school and also beyond in college too. I think Amrit's
Okay.
just graduated
I'm
college.
I graduated from college already. I went to UC
Okay.
Davis.
Okay, and you're interested in going to grad school in the near future?
I'm still thinking about it. I was a psychology major. I'm thinking about like more speech language pathology, as well as some designs for people with disabilities, kind of making them
Okay.
accessible to people with disabilities. That's my
Okay.
focus.
Okay, cool. I mentioned that because I am very proud of sending my high school and undergrad students on to the next level of education. And I'm really good at writing recommendation letters. And I'm very proud of the record that I have for sending students to the best schools in the United States and the world. So that's kind of a what would you call that? An added benefit of working here is that if your work is really good, I'll be very honored to write a recommendation letter for you, either for moving on in the profession, or for your application for undergrad or grad school. So you might want to keep that in mind too. My last batch of interns, they went on to UC Berkeley, Harvard University. One's on the waiting list for Cornell, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Let's see, Santa Clara University, and let's see, there's another university, I can't remember it. Anyways, it gives you, I've sent people all over the world to different universities. And I'm very proud that they reached for the best they could find, and got into those, like U of Penn, Stanford, UCLA, Columbia University, Princeton, and so on. So that can be thought of it as an added benefit, if that has any meaning to you later on. But it's a personal aspect of pride for me to help you to get in the best universities possible. So just know
That's
that.
that's certainly an incentive. So thank you for sharing, Eugene. We're going to close out now, and go ahead, and everyone here, if you have any particular kind of response or short one word, one phrase, a reflection on this experience today, feel free to post into the chat. Eugene will invite you out now, and we're going to close out with the intern/externs here, and close out. We'll get back to you pretty soon, because we have a model where students are going to be building projects and pitching internships. So we'll put Tsui Design and Research as an option for students to pick for their projects that they work on this summer. So hear from us soon, and we'll give you a call. Thank you, Eugene.
Okay. Well, thank you, and it's very nice meeting all of you. So So much luck in the future for all of you. Even if I don't see you again, I wish you really, I hope that you find what it is you're searching for to find contentment and meaning in your lives. So have a great adventure and journey. So long.
Have a great one.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, so for everyone who is here closing out with us, you just completed this employer spotlight with Sway Design and Research. Feel free to click on Save and Complete to get that one done. And then you'll see that after that, there will be a thank you letter that you can write to Eugene thereafter. And this thank you letter will be sent directly to him. And if he replies, you will get his email and you can engage with them going forward. And this can share data with us so that we know whether you like this, whether you'd like to work with them, your name, email. You can even include an attachment that may or may not work because there's some technical difficulties, but feel free to attach anything you feel like you want to share with them. And then click on Save and Complete as well so that you can get the credential and reward at the end of this, which is a pretty arbitrary guest speaker VIP pass. I don't know what you would be able to do yet, but Eugene, we are going to be at Mashup. We're going to be at our office space this Friday if you want to come and hang out with us. And if you are going to be at Mashup this Friday, go ahead and raise your hand digitally so we know whether you're going to be there. And Eugene, you're invited to come if you'd like to.
Okay. Well,
I'll
send
add
me
to the
all.
calendar invite.
Yeah. Send me all the address information and things, and I'll see.
Will do. So thank you all for doing this. Again, the whole purpose of having these employer spotlights is so that you all can start to kind of browse employers that are opportunities for you to choose from, to build projects for, to pitch internships. And we are thinking right now that there's ability for you to choose from 2 to 3 employers that you can build projects to pitch internships to. And so that way we don't have you just focus on one. So you can kind of diversify the different marbles and different baskets if you'd like. And work for a variety of people to explore different interests that you may have. So that's the purpose of these employer spotlights. Please watch the ones prior if you have not yet, because there are similar experiences that we have here with employers in other areas that are opportunities all for you. So we're going to close out now and end the YouTube live stream. Thank you all for coming. And we will see you tomorrow for the LinkedIn workshop that is required to come because it's only going to be good for you. And that's going to be at 4 p.m. right now. So thank you all, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And feel free to stick on if you have any other questions for me specifically. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome. Bye.